This is the Big O Show. This is the Big O Show.
Alrighty. There he is. The Wolf Pack has been unleashed. What'd you think of that senior year, huh?
I was about to say I was listening in the waiting room, and I definitely didn't want to interrupt. I was like for like 15 minutes hearing you guys go from Long Island iced teas to skipping the second half of high school, and it definitely brought me back. I played football, so the way it worked for us is a whole second half of our schedule in the fall was really set for football, and so I'm with you. Our football practice didn't start till 2, but we were all starting at 12. And so that 12 to 2 period was a lot of extra lunches going about, sometimes we'd leave school and go get Chick-fil-A somewhere, come back. As long as we were back by 2, it was all, free for all. And so I do miss
I thought you would have it a little rougher than me because you're younger, because school was a lot easier back in my day, bro.
Yeah. We had to,
what I watched my daughter go through, hell, bro, I could have never survived.
Yeah. They stuffed our classes from like 8 to 12. But after 12, it was lunch and the rest of your day until 2 o'clock. So I had 2 hours of essentially freedom before football practice.
That is awesome, man. Yeah.
Yeah.
That was having lunch, then yearbook and photog, and then PE.
Yeah.
God.
Right.
That was just like, I felt like I was coasting in 85. It was just
we didn't have it that good. We had to take the real classes.
I only had 2 requirements. 2 requirements out of my 6 classes. That's it. It was English and social studies or what. I didn't have to take math, dude. I didn't have to take math my senior year.
That's impressive.
Okay. Yeah.
Good for you.
Back in those days, it wasn't required. Yeah. It was nice and easy. It was beautiful. I want to have some fun with you on this. Did you see the Najee Harris story with on the pivot? Did you get to see that?
I saw clips of it. I did not see the whole thing, but I saw clips. So are you referring to
that he left for 2 weeks? That he left Alabama for 2 weeks.
I didn't see that. No.
Yeah. Well, he tells a story that he and Saban could not get along. Saban was Saban, ripping into people, all that kind of stuff. Right. And he's a Cali dude. So he goes, I don't know how many Cali dudes he had on his team, but we're different. We're not just going to sit there and you're going to belittle us and we're just going to take it and we're going to stay quiet. We're going to talk back. You know what I mean?
Right.
And so he goes, you just because you're a coach doesn't mean you're anything more to me than just a coach. So you can't talk to me like my dad or somebody else, that kind of stuff. So I'm kind of paraphrasing and all that. Mm-hmm. And so he literally left Alabama for 2 weeks and then came back, and then him and Saban had it out again until Saban and him went out for a day and he got to know him. And then they were completely cool after that. And so, a lot of things, it reminds me of what McDaniel has to do now and Flo didn't. Right. And it's everybody's different, man. They come from, the guy from the South is different than the guy from the Northeast, is different than the guy from the Midwest, is different than the guy from the West, is different than the guy from the Northwest, and is different than the Polynesian dude from the islands.
Yeah.
So they're all different. And, McDaniel does a beautiful job of disarming all of us.
Right.
Media, players, whatever. He does a great way of finding what ticks with you, and then he meets you there halfway, and then you're like, okay, this dude is cool, and, all right, yeah, you're good. You know what I mean? Every time a press conference ends, I hear media members go, God, I hope this guy sticks around. Because what they had to deal with before. But here's the double standard that I wanted to add to this whole story.
Mm-hmm.
Change the name Najee Harris to Tua Tagovailoa. And if Tua tells that story, because remember, the whole thing was, Flo, he couldn't take tough coaching. Well, dude, his father's worse than him, and Saban's bad. Tua will tell you that his father's worse than Saban, and Saban's bad, and he took it with Saban. But can you imagine if that story said Tua Tagovailoa instead of Najee Harris?
That's a good point.
What would be going on nationally and locally?
Oh, yeah. You know what the story would be. Tua's soft, Tua can't take, like you said. I think, and we talked about this here. Tua gets more criticism as a player than anybody else I've seen for stuff that's not really his doing. Like, he gets criticism for his injury, for being injured. Like, that's not his doing, right? He gets criticism because people think he can't throw 70 yards, right? And he gets criticism because the coaching situation that's happened here in Miami. And so the guy, has to eat a lot of crap, honestly, more than he deserves. And so I'm with you. I think that there's a lot of storylines in the media that are blown up way out of proportion, way more than they need to be. And to me, like, that's a good informative thing you just told me about Najee and his relationship with Saban, but it's not a big deal, right? And so it shouldn't be a big deal for everyone. But I do imagine that you're right. Like, if it was Tua, I could already see first take, Well, clearly Tua couldn't take Brian Flores' tough coaching. He can't take Nick Saban's tough coaching. Maybe he's just not built out for this league. And I don't think the narrative's been anything like that for Najee. It's just been like, oh, that's revealing.
No, with Najee, we understand Saban.
Yes, exactly. So yes,
for Tua, we would have embraced the whole Saban thing and made it all about Tua. This is what I'm saying.
That's a good point.
Yeah. We're looking at Najee going, dude, we understand you, especially here in South Florida. Dude, we understand you. We've been through the Saban. I've been through it personally. Hell, he called me an asshole in front of everybody in the media room. So trust me, I know Saban. So I've dealt with Saban. So I am sympathizing with Najee, but we would not be sympathizing. I would, but others would not be sympathizing with Tua. Same thing last 2 days. I had Omar on to go over his X's and O's comments where he called Tua a weirdo. And I said, this is crap, Omar, because lots of guys, Bob Greasy's straight as a pin, dude. Do you think he was partying with Zonka and those guys and getting drunk? No. Do you think Mark Brunell, Kurt Warner, God squatters like that, do you think that they were partying with their players and going to strip clubs? No, dude.
Yeah.
Russell Wilson is as straight and narrow as it gets, my brother, and he's a winner. That's not there's lots of guys that and wait a minute, hold on a second. And then he goes to me, well, no, he's got to socialize. And I go, well, wait a minute, dude. He's going out with them. He's paying for dinner. He's paying for the Uber. He's at Tyreek's house. Tyreek's at his house. He's doing those things. What are you talking about? And Beasley was the same shit yesterday. And I told him, bro, he's got to socialize. Bro, he is socializing. And he just told you he socializes with people in his circle. You're not his circle. I'm not his circle. It's people that he allows in there. And there's lots of people like that, my brother. There's lots of players that are to themselves, but when they walk in the building, the court, the ice, the pitch, they do their effing job. When they leave, dude, Aaron Rodgers, you really want a weirdo? That's Aaron Rodgers.
Right.
That you want weird? That guy doesn't even get along with his family, bro. Come on.
Honestly, I don't think that weirdo is a bad thing. I think that I can be a weirdo sometimes, so I don't really think that that's, it's just a reality. I think the way it was said made it seem a lot more negative than I take the word. So I don't know like what O's intention, but the way he said it did make it kind of seem like it was criticism. But I will tell you this, Tom Brady is a guy who off the field does not hang out with his teammates much. I've heard this from several players. So I think this is another thing that Tua gets criticism with that I think other players do not. And some of it is Tua still has some things to prove on the field. The reality is he still has to prove that he can be the type of quarterbacks you're mentioning. You mentioned Russell Wilson. You mentioned Aaron Rodgers, Tom Brady. These are all guys who have won a championship or have had MVPs or probably Hall of Famers. So Tua has to earn that ability. But that being said, I would rather have a quarterback be who they are. To me, the fakeness, you could have a quarterback. I'm sure Tua, if he really wanted to, could fake doing the social outing. He could be out in the club with the guys, hate it, but still do it because, hey, I'm supposed to do that with my guys. But do you want a guy that's faking it just to kind of please it? No, I don't want that in my coach. I don't want that in my quarterback. I do want my quarterback to be vocal. And that's something that I think he's working on the field. If I do want my quarterback to lead and have the team together. That's something that I think you work on the field.
Hold on a second. But that happens as time evolves and you take over and you make plays. You've been in locker rooms. This is something that I can only explain to people that have been in locker rooms. They do not accept you in that locker room until you prove you belong. And if somebody else gives you a title and all that, it doesn't earn respect in the locker room until they. It's like we were talking about this before. Nobody cares about what you do outside of the building. They don't care if you don't hang out with them. They don't care if you're Aaron Hernandez killing people on your off time. They only care when you walk in that building. Can I count on you, dude? Can I count on you to help me win? Can I count on you to help me hit my incentives? If I can do that, we're cool, dude. I don't care what you do off the field. That's just the way football is. That's the way sports is. So whenever you do take over, Ryan Tannehill could never take over. Do you know why? Because in that locker room, they knew that he was just a facilitator. He wasn't ever the guy here. Okay. And with Tua, it's going to be the same. Like any player, Javon Holland did not walk in taking over the locker room. No, as
you have to earn it.
On,
you have to earn it, right?
Exactly. They're like, this kid's the shit, and then now you can take over the locker room. That's how it works out in the NFL.
Exactly. It happens through time. And the other thing that hurt Tua, I believe, is because when he first got here, Ryan Fitzpatrick was the quarterback here when he was recovering from the injury. And Ryan Fitzpatrick has been in the league for 15, 16 years. And naturally, Ryan Fitzpatrick exudes the every man's guy. I want to have a beer with that guy. And so everything was in contrast to Ryan, which that's not fair to Tua because he's not the same personality. I'm not the same personality. You're not. And so I think that started the contrast. Now, like I said, the only thing I care about with Tua, I don't care what he does at night. I don't care who his wife is. I don't care who he hangs out with. None of that matters to me. Only thing I care is, do you have the respect of the guys in the locker room? Can you lead them? And can you perform when it's time to play? To me, you could be the biggest weirdo. You could, I don't care. I don't care if you're in the strip club at 3 a.m. or if you're praying to God at 3 a.m. or if you've been asleep since 9 p.m. Doesn't matter to me. The only thing I care about for my quarterback is the three things I mentioned. And so everything else beyond that to me is fluff.
Yeah, no, I'm with you there. The 11-game suspension just doesn't seem like, it's a bad look, man.
Yeah.
Bad
it was
look
never so here's the thing. And I was thinking about this as I was just finishing up watching Dolphins practice, right? I don't know if there was a number that I would have been satisfied with. Like I guess a year would have been.
I would have been satisfied with a year at least.
A year, but even that, there probably would have been talk. It should have been definite. It should have been, forever. I think that 11 games is much better than 6. It's not a year, but clearly there was a settlement. And so literally when you look at a 17-game season, the middle of 6 and 17 is 11. And so they literally probably just said, hey, let's just cut the difference. And so I don't love it because I think that a year was the appropriate number there. But I do take at least some joy in that we won't see Deshaun Watson for the first 3 months of the season. Yeah. And that, he gets at least fined, which the money thing was something that bothered the NFL, I believe. That the fact that he didn't get any fine initially in the ruling, and the fact that the way his salary was set up this year, even if he got suspended the whole year, he would have only lost $1 million. Right. And so the fine at least gets him $5 million. And so there's a satisfaction of that. But I was watching glimpses of his press conference as I was going into the Dolphins deal, and something about it still doesn't sit right to me. He's still not taking responsibility. He kind of said that, hey, I still feel like I'm innocent. And I wasn't there. I don't know what fully happened, but it doesn't add up to me that the Browns are saying, the NFL are saying he's taking responsibility and they're trying to wrap it up, while Deshaun's saying I'm still maintaining my innocence. And so it just kind of seems like they're trying to put a bow on this thing. It's not complete and just kind of making it go away and be final. And it just doesn't sit right with me, as a whole. But that's just my personal opinion.
It's as a father and as a husband, there's no part of me that can accept this. And in a way, I almost feel like, the NFL has put itself in such a terrible position because there's no way of justifying any of this stuff. But you said yourselves that you sense guiltiness. And so then guilty means only 11 games to you in your eyes. That's the part that it contradicts what goes on, that you sense there was guiltiness in it, yet the player is not really remorseful. But then again, if the player then acts or gives off the sense of guilty, then people will be even more outraged and they would want even more blood. You know what I'm saying? So
Yep.
it's a really like screwed up situation where there's no way to win. But here's the part I talked about earlier. The amazing part about this is think of another corporation that can survive all of these terrible PR moves that the NFL is involved in year after year after year. It is crazy. Like Pac-Man Jones stayed in the league and he was arrested 9 times. You know, the stuff that has gone on with, you know, the Dallas Cowboys, the player kills his teammate in a DUI wreck and he's on the Monday Night Football sidelines the next day. You know, there are things that this league does that nobody ever does in any business, in any corporation. Think about it. What corporation could get away with that and stay popular in the eyes of the public? Everybody that suffers these kind of PR hits, it takes them down, dude.
Well, I will say the NFL, I think, will always be king. I think that the reality is that most people, we obviously work in the industry, but most people watch the NFL on the weekends as their escape from their life, their work life, their personal life, whatever it is. And so I think they are able to compartmentalize whatever the happenings of players in the league or even owners and coaches of the league, because they're just wanting to see some people hit some people and root for their team. And it's very simplistic in that mindset. And so that's probably why I think the NFL will always be king, because everybody's favorite.
They misled their players with concussions for decades. Like these are things that just like if other corporations did this, the backlash would be so brutal, dude. You know what I mean? There would be
so I will say that
government retaliation if you mistreated, you know, people that way. Yet the NFL, you know, it really is amazing.
I would say that, like in the Deshaun Watson case and some of these players' cases, the reason why, I would say, like, and I'm not defending the league in any respect, but I think that the reason why the NFL it seems like they have the bigger spectrum of this is they have 53 players in every team, and so all these other sports have a lower amount of players, and so I'd say in the grand scheme of things, there are 1% of the public that are probably less than 1% of the player population that are Deshaun Watson or these guys who have these happenings that become big picture, right? But because there's so many players, it kind of becomes a bigger spectrum in that realm. Now, that being said, Deshaun Watson's a quarterback, and he's one of the 5 or 10 probably most notable players in football. I'd say definitely top 10, I'd imagine. And so that does put a mark on the league. Like, I am curious. It's sort of, I don't imagine it changes the numbers a huge amount, but there probably will be some fans, maybe in Houston, maybe in Cleveland, who say, I'm not going to watch this team or this because of that. It's probably a very, very small number.
The Ray Rice thing didn't scare women away.
Right. I don't know if that's true. I think that we all look at things in a big picture number, right? So if 500 women say I'm not going to watch football before against Ray Rice, yeah, it's 500 women, right? But if there's 500 million people watching football, are you going to realize that 500 women stop? Probably not. So that's why I'm saying it keeps trucking. Like, it's not going to affect their bottom line in that respect. So, but I will say, like, I do think there are a fair number of fans who stopped watching football after Colin Kaepernick. Like, what that number is, I don't know. But I'd say, there was probably thousands of fans, at least, that said, hey, I'm not going to watch the NFL anymore because of the Colin Kaepernick element. Now, have those people come back? I don't know. Maybe they'd come back at this point. But I think initially there are certain things that can turn you off to the league.
My favorite thing about the Colin Kaepernick thing is, I don't want no kneeling in my football game. Well, it's actually not happening during the football game, sir.
Right.
It's
before.
Okay. So turn on the game at 1:00. You don't see kneeling. You just watch the game, dude. So please stop overreacting.
Most times.
Whether you agree or disagree, it wasn't happening in the first quarter, in the second quarter, at halftime, in the third quarter. It's before everything happened. Give me a
not even on the middle of the field, on the sideline.
It says
Yeah.
that one was just you don't want to agree with it, great. But don't tell me it's affecting your game when it's not
Right.
part of the game, dude.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
pregame.
Yep.
Okay?
Yep.
Pregame, but whatever. It is what it is. All right, what are you working on at the NFL Network so folks can check you out, my friend?
Yeah, man, I've been busy this week. I was here at practice today. Was in Nashville last couple of days for joint practices with the Bucks there, and so we did TV talking Bucks and Titans yesterday. I will be here for the preseason game on Saturday, so we haven't heard word yet on if Tua, Tyreek, and the rest of the guys will play yet. But I'd imagine they get some action, whether it's this week or next week. And my guess
Next week.
is that
Next week is my
I don't
guess.
know. So my guess is this
Let me
week
let me
because
give you an explanation.
okay,
He's a smart guy.
right,
He wants his players to be as prepared as possible.
right,
He's going to give Connor the entire training camp and the entire 3 weeks to get his snapping straight. Get all the linemen as many snaps in the offense as much as possible. Get all the new players involved in the offense, receivers, running backs, everybody. So he'll have his rehearsal next week because now he'll give his players as much time and they still have 2 weeks after that to recover. I think he's waiting to the final week for his rehearsal to give guys a certain amount of time to be better prepared for the rehearsal game.
that's possible. That is certainly possible. I guess my thought is that you're doing joint practices next week. This is
Right?
your only week that you don't have joint practices. So joint practices are your game-like action. So you had your game-like action last week against the Bucks. This week there's no game-like action, and the next week there is. So to me, the preseason game would make sense this week, then have them off next week and use the joint practices as your final time to have them go full against another team. But it could, like you said, it could be your route as well. Maybe you just use that last week as a full hedge. We're going to learn everything we need to know about our team. I just can't imagine that we don't see them for at least one game. So, I'm eager I'll be there regardless, whether it's Skylar Thompson or Tua, but I hope it's Tua so that I have something a little bit more interesting to watch. Although Skylar was nice last game.
Yeah, he did.
So, yeah, I'll be doing that. And also for NFL.com, I will have a story coming out in the next few days. That'll be pretty cool. It's a different type of story. I'll give you guys a little bit of a hint. It's about offensive and defensive linemen and their weight management during training camp. So I found a lot of fun stories there. So I kind of wanted to tell a unique story about some of the things players go through in that perspective. So you'll check that out, and then I'll be back on TV next week. So,
All right. So what's the prediction? When does Malik take over in Tennessee?
I don't think it happens till 2023. I think
Okay.
week one of 2023 is my guess that he's the Titans starting quarterback. I think he sits all of this year. He looked promising. He has spurts, but they're still trying to work on him to be a more than first read and run type quarterback. And so I think they're going to spend most of the season working on him there. Tannehill's contract is guaranteed this year. It's not guaranteed next year. So unless Tannehill has a really strong season, I'd imagine that the transition happens in the offseason. That's my guess, not my reporting, but I'd say 2023 week one is Malik Willis's first Titan start.
Yeah, I can see a lot of rollouts, cut the field in half, give them a high-low read,
Yep.
option to run, those kind of things. Work them in slowly, then give them a little bit more of the field with an option in the middle, and then you start giving them the whole field eventually, and all that good stuff. So
Yeah,
I can
because
see them.
he's a special talent, man.
Oh
He's a
yeah,
special talent.
I saw it the other night. It was like,
Yeah,
okay, now I see what they see in him. Okay,
yeah,
all right.
yeah. The upside is tremendous. So we'll see. I don't think it'll be this year, but I think we'll eventually see that. And then that offense with Malik Willis and Derrick Henry, because I think Derrick Henry still got a few more years left. I don't know how many, but I think it's at least a few. But I think that offense, it could be fun. It'll remind me. I think that I don't know if he's the same as Lamar, but the Ravens style offense that they've been able to run for a very long period of time. I think that ideally once Malik is there, that's something that the Titans would try to run something similar with Malik and Derrick.
How's his passing? Is he
So
consistent with his accuracy, or is that erratic?
So he has some spurts. He has spurts of consistency. He has a tremendous arm strength. Like he has a
Right.
great arm talent. I think the thing for him is the decision making, and the decision making more than the accuracy. I don't think that he's an inaccurate quarterback. Yeah, the accuracy needs some work, but I think more than anything, it's you got to make a quick decision, not hold on to the ball for 4 seconds in the pocket because it's just not going to work in the NFL. And so I think he has to see things a little faster, which happens through time.
and get his accuracy and his feet to match up a little bit better. But I don't think you're breaking him down to scratch and restarting him as a passer. I don't think he's that far away.
All right. Follow him on Twitter at Cameron Wolfe and catch his work there at the NFL Network. And you can catch him doing his thing here with the KSDT CPA Miami Dolphins and NFL Report. Cam, as always, thank you, my brother. Appreciate you.
Yes, sir. Appreciate y'all.
All right. You got it. There you go. Cameron Wolfe. And by the way, folks, call KSDT. It's not, some people look at it and they say, well, we're just talking about, taxes. No, man. There's a lot more than doing your business taxes. There's a lot more than doing your personal taxes. There's forensic accounting. There's business valuation. There's management advisory services. They've got all kinds of stuff from forecast, projections, and budgets to implementation of accounting software, year-end planning. They can help you out in so many ways. They've got healthcare advisory also, from estate and trust planning, fraud investigation, federal and state tax, operational diligence, operational improvement. There are so many different areas that they can help you out. Property management, wealth management, valuation, tax. They do it all. KSDT CPAs, 305-670-3370. That's 305-670-3370 for KSDT CPA.